I woke up that Tuesday thinking the worst thing I'd deal with was a weak cup of coffee, and instead I found a damn construction crew building a bridge over my creek, on my land, before I'd even had breakfast. And in that moment, standing there in my boots, staring at a mini excavator chewing into the bank like it owned the place, I knew somebody was about to have a very bad day. I just didn't know yet how many somebodies it was going to be. My name's Robert Sanders. I'm 62 now, but back then I'd been living 8 quiet years on 12 acres in rural Loudoun County, Virginia. I bought that place for one reason: peace. The house sits on a little rise, and behind it the land dips down into woods where a clear creek winds through smooth gray stones like it's got nowhere else to be. Deer come down at dawn. Mist hangs low over the water, and if you stand still long enough you can hear nothing but the creek and your own breathing. That creek wasn't just scenery. It was why I signed the mortgage papers in the first place. It was my sanctuary. So when I walked down the gravel path that morning, coffee in hand, and saw 2 trucks, 6 guys, and a compact excavator planting posts on either side of my water, my brain did this slow, dangerous boil. "Excuse me," I called out, loud enough to cut through the engine noise. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Hard hat, guy turned around, clipboard tucked under his arm like he was supervising a mall remodel instead of trespassing on private land. "Building a walking bridge. Should be done by end of day." "A walking bridge?" I repeated, letting that sink in. "Over my creek?" He shrugged. "HOA approved it." Now, I've lived in HOA neighborhoods before. I know the dance. They send letters about mailbox paint shades and grass height. Fine, whatever. But building a permanent structure on my land, that's a whole different animal. I called the HOA office right there while the crew kept drilling like I didn't exist. "Meadowbrook Estates, HOA, this is Brenda. This is Robert Sanders on Hickory Lane. There's a construction crew on my property building a bridge. Care to explain?" Pause. Papers shuffling. "Oh yes, Mr. Sanders. The walking trail extension. Approved at last month's board meeting." I wasn't at that meeting, and nobody asked permission to build on my land. Well, per the bylaws, the HOA has authority to implement community improvements benefiting the neighborhood. That word, authority, hit me wrong. They mentioned easement rights. Said I should review my deed. Said it would increase my property value. Said I should be thanking them. I hung up before I said something that would have made the evening news. When the deputy came later that morning, good guy, sympathetic, he read my deed, nodded slowly, then said the words that make every homeowner's stomach drop. "This is a civil matter." In other words, they can keep building. By 2 in the afternoon, the bridge was done. 12 feet long, 4 feet wide, pressure-treated lumber. Solid craftsmanship, I'll give them that. I stood in the middle of it staring down at my creek, and I felt violated. Like someone had put a door through my bedroom wall and called it a neighborhood improvement. That night, I barely slept. I pulled my deed, reread the easement language, utilities and emergency access only. Nothing about recreational projects. Nothing about foot traffic. Next day, I met with a real estate attorney, Michael Chun. Sharp guy, calm voice, the kind of man who reads every comma twice. "You're right," he told me. "They overstepped. But suing to remove it will cost you 15 to 20 grand. Months in court." I stared at him. "What if I remove it myself?" He didn't smile. "Technically, you'd be within your rights. They built an unauthorized structure. But they'll sue. Let them." He leaned back. "If you do it, document everything." So I did. Thursday morning, just after sunrise, before joggers could start treating my backyard like a public park, I walked down with a reciprocating saw, a crowbar, a sledgehammer, and the kind of determination you only get when someone's crossed a line. That saw screamed through the quiet woods. Birds scattered. Bolts snapped. Railings came down first. Then decking boards. I worked steady, methodical, stacking lumber like I was dismantling an argument piece by piece. Around 8, I heard heels crunching gravel and a voice sharp enough to slice bark. "What do you think you're doing?" Karen Whitmore, HOA president. Designer tracksuit. That haircut, you know the one. The posture of someone who's never been told no and believed it. "I'm removing an unauthorized structure from my property," I said, not even pausing my drill. "That is community property. It's on my land." Her face went red so fast, I thought she might combust. We spent $8,000 on that bridge. You probably should have asked first. She called the police. Same deputy showed up. Same answer. Civil matter. By noon, the bridge was gone. Post cut. Ground leveled. Grass seed scattered. You'd barely know it had existed, except for the barn full of perfectly good lumber. I listed it on Craigslist that afternoon. A contractor handed me $2,000 cash the next morning. That part, I'll admit, felt poetic. Of course, the HOA didn't take it well. Certified letter. Cease and desist. $5,000 fine. Demand to pay $8,000 to rebuild. Michael drafted a response that was pure surgical steel. Cited easement limits. Demanded they stop trespassing. Invited them to test it in court. That's when things got ugly. Mulch dumped in my driveway overnight. Lawn violation notices for grass that wasn't long. Mailbox disappeared. Anonymous complaints filed with the county. Bags of trash tossed onto my lawn. For 2 weeks, it was petty sabotage straight out of middle school. But here's the twist they didn't count on. I installed cameras. Thursday evening, 8:15 p.m., Karen's SUV rolls by slow. Passenger window drops. Trash bag flies onto my yard. Crystal clear. High definition. Time stamped. Michael's voice over the phone was calm, almost pleased. This changes everything. When the HOA sued me for $15,000, we countersued for trespass and harassment. Discovery was brutal. Depositions, emails, board minutes. And that's when the Real crack showed. Turns out Karen never even checked the deed language. Never consulted an attorney before spending $8,000. Worse, their own bylaws required a full membership vote for expenses over $5,000. They never had one. In mediation, the retired judge laid it out plain. They'd lose in trial. Karen refused to settle. So we went to court. Judge Blackburn, silver hair, no nonsense, listened to both sides, took a short recess, and came back with a decision that landed like a hammer. The easement language is clear. The HOA committed trespass. Mr. Sanders was within his rights to remove the structure. Then he looked straight at Karen, and the documented pattern of harassment is troubling. He awarded me $12,000 in legal fees and $5,000 in damages. Ordered the HOA to notify all members about the limits of their authority. Karen looked like someone had unplugged her. But karma wasn't done yet. Within weeks, other homeowners came forward. Trees cut without permission. Fines issued out of spite. Patterns of overreach. Class action lawsuit. Insurance companies stepped in. Karen resigned. New board elected. And here's the thing, I didn't expect any of that. I just wanted my creek back. But what I learned, what hit me later sitting by that water, is that power, even small power like an HOA presidency, can make people forget basic courtesy. They convince themselves the end justifies the means, that they're improving things, so rules don't apply. But ownership matters. Boundaries matter. Asking matters. You don't get to build on someone's land because you think it's a good idea. That lesson wasn't theoretical anymore. It was carved into my bank where those posts once stood. I took the settlement money and built a gazebo up on the hill. Proper permits. County approvals. Everything by the book. Copper roof gleaming in the sunset. Sometimes I sit up there with a beer, watch the creek winding through the trees, and I think about how close I came to just accepting that bridge. If I had, it wouldn't just be to cross water. It would have been a quiet surrender. Now the grass has grown back where the bridge stood. Deer still drink at dawn. Kids still fish, but they ask first. And that's the part that matters. Because this wasn't really about lumber. Or $8,000. Or even a lawsuit. It was about a line in the dirt. And whether I'd let someone erase it. Justice came slow. It was expensive. It was exhausting. But when that judge said Mr. Sanders was within his rights, it felt like oxygen rushing back into my lungs. Every morning now, coffee in hand, I walk down to that creek and stand exactly where the bridge used to be. There's nothing there, just water flowing clean and undisturbed. And sometimes I can't help but smile thinking about that $2,000 check for the lumber. They tried to force something onto my land. I dismantled it, sold it, and walked away with my rights intact. So here's the question I still wrestle with. If you were in my boots that morning, would you have torn it down? Or would you have let the bridge stay just to keep the peace?